Welcome to West Country Wanderings and welcome to part 9, update number 9 on the Stroudwater and Thames and Severn canals. Most welcome here. I'm going to hand you over first of all to the Stroudwater Canal, well specifically the Stroudwater stroke Gloucester Sharpness Canal, because we're going to have a first of all look at Saul Junction, where the Stroudwater will connect with the canal network once more. Now the piece behind me is the stub that won't be restored. This is the section that runs from Saul Junction to Framalode, where it connected up to the River Severn. Why did it fall into decline much earlier than the Stroudwater Canal? Well, of course, it's to do with the navigability of the River Severn and how tricky it is to get round from Framalode and negotiate the mud banks and the tides up to Gloucester, where it's far safer. Sandfield Swing Bridge behind me over the Gloucester Sharpness Canal. We're about a quarter of a mile away from Saul Junction, Saul Bridge. I'll head my way back to that bit. Saul Junction is a delightful place to come and have a look at boats, but warning, it does get busy at the weekends. There is a cafe here. I think it's open throughout the year, perhaps reduced hours during the winter time, but today's a Friday and it's open today, so I guess it is open during the week as well. So that's just on the opposite bank of the canal here. It's a delightful spot. I'm currently walking alongside the Stroudwater Canal at Saul Junction. So this is the little, quarter of a mile stub, if you like, which is currently blocked from the rest of the canal by that low bridge, which we did, I think it was in canal update number 4. But yeah, there's planning permission in to replace that bridge. Hasn't been replaced yet, no activity of it as yet. Of course, this will form the way that the Stroudwater, with all the projects, the various projects that are going on there, including that oil pipeline, and the missing mile, of course, between Whitminster and Easington. Once that's done on the bridge, the oil pipe, this will be how the Stroudwater and the Thames and Severn connects back up to the network here towards the Gloucester Sharpness Canal, and thence down to the Bristol Channel or up to the River Severn at Gloucester. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to the Thames and Severn Canal, which is about 25 to 30 miles east of here, and I'll see you back on the Stroudwater in a bit. Welcome back from the Stroudwater Canal. Well, today I'm here back on the Cotswold Water Park. I'm just outside a village called Marston Meysey, a very beautiful looking Cotswold village. And I've come here to show you one of the 5 roundhouses which are dotted along the Thames and Severn Canal. I think I've shown you 4 of them now. I think the first one I showed you was at Chalford, certainly done the one at Inglesham and Sirneywick, Well, this is number 4 at Marston Meysey. Well, I say it's at Marston Meysey. It's about 3/4 of a mile outside of the village, and it is a difficult spot to get to. In fact, I nearly gave up trying to film here this morning. Now, I will insert some photographs of that, and sadly I can't do a shot, some video, or doing a piece to camera with the roundhouse behind me, because that was my original plan here. Can't do that. But just to tell you that the roundhouse at Marston Meysey is one of, I think, 2 or 3 of the 5 roundhouses which has an inverted roof. And the reason it has an inverted roof is to collect water, because water supplies, would you believe, though I'm surrounded by lakes here at the moment, they weren't here when the Thames and Severn Canal was built, of course. It was used to collect water to provide water supply for the people that lived in the roundhouse. In other words, the people that worked on the canal. Now, they obviously is no longer used, and I think one of them has now got a re-inverted roof, so it's now back-shaped conical again. I think that was the one we saw at Cerney Wick. Beautiful example, that's been restored. The one here has also been restored and has the lovely humped back-shaped bridge alongside it, but sadly it's all on private land. You can't get access to any of that anymore. You can only view it from the footpath along. And another word of warning in getting to this location, the footpath is not marked and it's rather overgrown. I was totally reliant on my OS map, looking at the GPS to see exactly where I was, just to make sure if somebody confronted me saying, "What are you doing here?" just to check I wasn't committing an act of trespass, because it is rather tricky. As I say, it's completely unmarked. I've parked near the junction to where the road turns into Marston Meysey, and then I walked back along the main road and turned right down this narrow track. Now, the track is private, just to let you know. You have to walk through the footpath, climb over a gate, onto the track again, and then just before you approach the roundhouse you do an immediate left into a wood, and then kind of scramble through the undergrowth there, and then you come out to this, and then you can walk back to see the roundhouse. I hope that kind of makes sense. First of all, I'm going to take you back to Brimscombe Port, because I did a feature there some 6-7 weeks ago now, and the buildings there have all been demolished, which means that preparation work can take place on the foundations for the huge projects taking place there, and to bring the canal back into that important place, which was obviously a transshipment point for the Thames and Severn, and also where goods transferred and were stored there. So that's a part of the story that I'm going to show you that, and then also I'm going to do some bits of video. I think it's just photo clips that I took at Ryeford, where they're building a new wharf there. And I'll see you back here on the Thames and Severn Canal in a bit. Welcome back to the Brimscombe Port site here on the Thames and Severn, just to the east of Stroud, a couple of miles to the east of Stroud. Remember, I was here, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago. We did that bookshop, and which belongs obviously to the Cotswold Canals Trust, raises fund for that. And behind me, when I did the piece to camera then, and just to see if I can find a clip of that, and if I can I'll insert a clip of it where I was then. You had all those buildings, those factory spaces. Well, now look at it behind me, it's all gone. Fantastic to see that they've done lots of work here at Brimscombe to get those plans on track, to clear the site before building work can start taking place. Welcome back to the Thames and Severn portion of the project here. Now, the bit I'm currently standing on was once the bed of the Thames and Severn Canal. There's a line of trees behind me and a fence. The line of trees pretty much indicates the line of where the Thames and Severn Canal once ran. And obviously you can see the fence behind me. That's where the roundhouse and the associated new buildings and dwellings. It's completely private, so you can't get into that, of course. Now, the Thames and Severn went directly in front of me. So I'll just spin the camera around so you can see that view. So this is the other, I've gone through 180 degrees, this is the other angle if you like, and the Thames and Severn Canal carried right through here. There's actually a lake that side and another lake that side. Of course, they weren't here when the Thames and Severn Canal was in existence, or in use at this section, should I say, because of course this was for the gravel excavation, as I have mentioned previously, and what has now formed the Cotswold Water Park. Should be able to make out a life buoy just on there, somewhere around there, the orange life buoy. So we've got a lake there and one there. The plans are to divert the T&S away from its original route from this point for obvious reasons, because of the private property that I aforementioned with that roundhouse and bridge. Now, the T&S at this point will actually need to go on a slightly different alignment because of the property in the roundhouse, and it'll need to be south of the roundhouse, skirting, well, roughly where I am now, but further on slightly to the south to bypass the private property and roundhouse and bridge. So the bridge won't actually be utilised when the canal is restored at this point here. So I'm now going to hand over to the Stroudwater again for a further update over that end of the canal project, and then you'll see me back next here on the Thames and Severn at a place called Kempsford. Now, there should be a wharf and a wharf building there, and also a route and perhaps a bridge or remains of a bridge. So we'll go and have a look and see what there. I've not been there before, so I'm pretty much in the dark. I'm only reliant on books that are some 20-year-old, so I've no idea what it looks like now. So why not join me, continue the adventure on the update here on update number 9, back on the T&S. I'll see you after the Stroudwater update in a bit. Now, just standing next to the A419, apologies for the very noisy traffic alongside this busy road. The reason I'm doing this, I just wanted to show you as part of the canal update here on canal update number 9. This is the site where they had that massive crane over the Christmas New Year period, and work carried on throughout the early part of spring here. But just to show you, this has now been completely re-landscaped. You would never know any earthwork movement was here. Every heavy engineering, moving vehicles and moving all that soil that needed to be moved to get that new canal bridge in. It's completely been levelled, and they've also planted some grass seed on it as well. It looks absolutely immaculate, including this brand new fence behind me to protect the site. I'm not sure who owns it, but yeah, the guys and gals from Network Rail and Griffiths have done a fantastic job in restoring to this. As I say, you'd never know the work took place here.
No, well, I don't have them with me. No, I don't.
Well, I'm in the village of Kempsford. Beautiful Cotswold village here, nice and quiet. I think they do get trouble with the quarry lorries in the week, but it's a Saturday, so we don't have that trouble today. So I've just come into this quiet corner of the village. A few things in Kempsford. First of all, I parked in a place called Wharf Lane. Now, you can walk down a little bit of Wharf Lane, and clearly that was the lane that took you to the wharf here in Kempsford onto the Thames and Severn Canal. Now the Thames and Severn Canal, the route of it is still here in Kempsford, but there is no public access to it, in fact, and a lot of it has been put into private ownership. Now there are some cottages which originally banked onto the Thames and Severn Canal near that wharf, but you can't get access to the back of them to see where the canal would have been. Now there's also a wharf house here, and plus a Thames and Severn office. That building is still there. It's in private ownership, so I couldn't get a very good shot of it, although you can see a place called Wharf Cottage. Now the other thing to explain about Kempsford is that part of Kempsford is called Kempsford Bridge, and there was a bridge over the canal in the end of the village. Now sadly I guess that they wanted to widen the road as traffic's expanded. They wanted to widen that bridge, and I guess it was a narrow humpback bridge. I think it was known to be quite a delightful bridge. I'll see if I can find a photograph of it and insert it now from what it looked like back in the days when it was a humpback bridge. Sadly it has been flattened now, but you can still make out where the course of the canal went first here, and also you can see a retaining wall which was part of the original vicarage here. It's now the old vicarage, and that backed onto the Thames and Severn, and there was a retaining wall alongside the canal there. The other thing to mention about Kempsford is that it was at this point that the Welford feeder joined the canal. Now I'd like to give out a special mention to one of my subscribers, and who regularly comments on my channel, particularly the railway and canal ones, a gentleman called John Timbrell. John Timbrell is in hospital at the moment. I wish you well and speedy recovery, John, and it'd be great to hear from you again very, very soon. But he asked me a question on email the other day about where was the water supplies for the Thames and Severn Canal. Well, we're going to go over to show you where the Welford feeder started from, just about 2 miles north of here, another little village called Welford, and there is a mill there, and I think we'll be able to see where the Welford feeder started. The rest of the course of the Welford feeder has now been obliterated under agriculture and have been completely ploughed out. You can't make it out in the landscape at all, but we should be able to see where it started. Now behind me is the delightful Welford Mill. Beautiful here. We're back on the River Colne here, but it was this part that the Welford feeder started its 2-mile journey to the Thames and Severn Canal. Absolutely beautiful spot here. As I say, you've got the arches there, and we'll just have a closer look at the mill to see where it exactly started. Sadly, the course of the culvert and the feeder itself, the channel, is now buried under agriculture. Well, I'm back here at Inglesham. I think it was part 4, update number 4, when I showed you the Thames and Severn and where it meets the River Thames. That behind me there is the famous lock at Inglesham, and of course the roundhouse. Now, one thing to tell you, I think it's the 24th of July. I'll check that. I believe it's a Sunday, but I put all the dates and information and times that you need below. That lock and roundhouse, not necessarily inside it, but getting up to it, is going to be open to the general public for a one-off special event. This, of course, is private properties, and sure, if you follow my channel, you'll be aware, like lots of things on the TNS, you can't get anywhere near them. But it will be open for a one-off event, so you'll be able to see the work that's been done on the restoration of the lock here. So that'll be a fantastic opportunity to do that. They'll also be doing boat trips. I think they're £5 return from Lechlade, taking you right up to the lock as well. That's really, really exciting. I think that's going to be really, really popular as well. So I advise you to get early if you're interested in looking at Inglesham Lock and all of that there. That's a really exciting project. The other thing to tell you about is that on my way over here to Lechlade, there is a place called Oatlands Bridge. Now, it is in private property again, yes, but it is close to RAF Fairford, and it is a perfectly intact Thames and Severn canal bridge, a humpback bridge, basically going over nothing because there is no canal underneath it, of course. But I managed to take a photograph on the way over here of that, and I'll include that now. Just a word of warning, you can't get close to it. I have actually taken that with my large telephoto lens, so it is a little bit of a distance to the road. It's also quite tricky parking there because it's on a T-junction, so be very careful if you want to have a look at that there for yourselves. But it looks a wonderful intact bridge. As I understand it, when the landowner, the current landowner, or perhaps a previous landowner, when they took over that land from what was the remnants of the T&S company, and they were selling off a lot of the land, a lot of the other bridges were destroyed, and as we know, that the land was ploughed back into the land again, so a lot of the canal doesn't exist. But the landowner at the time, perhaps the existing landowner, I'm not sure, was very insistent that the canal bridge remained exactly as it was, and it looks like it has been restored to some extent as well, because it looks in very good order. Well, here I am back at the ocean in Stonehouse, back on the Stroudwater Canal, just to give you an update here, what's happening on here. Yesterday, the bridge, that bridge that goes over the Stroudwater, the new one, the one that was done over the Christmas and New period in 2021, was named. It had an official opening. I'll put in the dignitaries that were there, and it was all arranged by Cotswold Connected. Now, I'm a little bit miffed, and I think a few local people are as well, because the local town council weren't invited to this arrangement, and it was kept as a closed loop. Although I did come along, I did see kind of bits and pieces got out of tip-off, there was things going on here. Nobody was invited to it. The other sad thing to report is that the towpath remains closed. It should have opened in the middle of May, and if you follow me, I'll show you why it's still closed. Now, just before I hand over to the final segment on the Stroudwater and show you why the towpath hasn't reopened, what I'm going to say is, and I forgot to say when I was filming down there, the reason why the towpath hasn't reopened is that I'll bring you all the latest developments here on West Country Wanderings. So when the towpath does eventually reopen, and I get some more news on as to why and what work still needs to be done, there's a clue, on that towpath, you'll find it here, right here on West Country Wandering. So if you want to know more about Stroudwater and Thames and Severn, then please hit the subscribe and the bell. Anyway, I'm going to hand you over now to where it is. The problem is here on the Stroudwater Canal. And so this is the reason why the towpath hasn't reopened. Well, I would imagine why. What is slightly annoying from the perspective of the Cotswolds Connected and the Cotswold Canals Trust is they've not informed anybody of the delay in opening or as to why it has opened. But I think we can identify the reasons why. I put the clip in of that now. And as I say, it's a bit of a disappointing after an end of a fabulous work that's been done by Network Rail. It's now been called Ocean Jubilee Bridge, obviously because of course the Queen Elizabeth year, all celebrations for that for this year, so it ties in nicely with that. But as you can see here, there's water pouring down this footpath out of the canal. And I think what's probably happened is that during the dredging work which took place in the ocean after Network Rail handed it back to Cotswold's Canals, they've damaged part of the side wall of the canal, and that's obviously letting water come out of the canal, pouring down this footpath. This footpath should open at the same time as the towpath. It was closed at the same time last year, in October of last year, but obviously it's not in a fit state to open any time soon because of the sheer amount of water which is pouring down it. But yeah, it is a bit of a sad thing. But what I'll do now is I'll hand you back over to the Thames and Severn Canal at Inglesham. Now I have this curious drainage channel here behind me, and it runs parallel to the navigable stretch of the River Thames after the TNS has actually joined it at Inglesham. And I don't know, I can't find any more information on it because it just ends in the field at this end. It's like they started to dig it from the Thames right into this field and stopped halfway. Was the purpose of that to connect it to where the TNS comes out to avoid this stretch of the Thames before it gets into the town of Lechlade where it becomes more navigable? Because I know they did have problems with this stretch before it gets a bit wider the other side of Halfpenny Bridge in Lechlade, with the reeds growing and that, and perhaps this was a diversion. I don't know, this is pure speculation. Perhaps somebody can help me out here. So if you do know the purpose of this drainage channel in this field opposite Inglesham Roundhouse, parallel to the River Thames, I'd love to know. Please drop your comments below. Thank you. So we have a really good view of Inglesham Roundhouse from this point. Don't forget that date for meeting up for coming to have a closer look at that. And I believe some more work has been done since I even made update number 4 here on the Thames and Severn Canal. Well, that's it for today, and that actually also completes our journey eastwards. So we've worked our way back eastwards again. Before I started here at 4, worked my way westwards, and I've come back to this point of origin, if you like. But that's not the end of the canal update story, of course. I will be continuing. I'll be starting my journey again towards the east, but from a different point. I'll actually be restarting it from Chelford. Now, I did do a walk from the other side of Stroud through to where the TNS and the Stroudwater meet at Warbridge in Stroud, and I got as far as around the Chelford area. So I'm going to be restarting in the Golden Valley, working my way, of course, to the Daneway and the famous Sapperton Tunnel. So obviously that update will lie ahead, probably be around about number 11. I'll also be bringing you further news of what's happening on that abandoned section, the abandoned mile between Whitminster and Easington, of course, as well. Now, a little proviso about what I'm about to say is that I have heard a couple of bits of rumour that the planning to put the canal underneath the M5 using the River Froome route, the bridge there, has been thrown out by Stroud District Council. I can't work out whether that is true or not. Perhaps somebody can correct that or add further information about whether the planning has been thrown out for that particular route, and if indeed it has been thrown out, then and I think the reason it may have been thrown out, and again this may or may not be correct information on what I'm telling you now, is because of height headroom, with there just not being enough clearance to get the narrowboats through using that section, particularly of course when the water level is higher. That may not be true. They maybe got plans to dig it out further to get the canal through, but I'd say I have heard, like a dicky bird if you like, from a couple of sources, that it has been thrown out. So perhaps somebody watching this could enlighten all us and drop a comment below. So I don't know what's happening with that, where we are with the planning of that, because it seems to be like it's gone into a dark hole. There's nothing on the website explaining any further of that, but I'm hoping as we get towards the end of this year and into next year, when I was expecting work to be taking place on that abandoned mile to recut the canal through, to work to start. So hopefully we'll find something out over the next few months. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it today on this canal update, and underline there will be more. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and I hope to see you on West Country Wanderers again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers, take care, bye-bye.